motto of the Pakistan Army is faith, discipline, and jihad in the name of God. So it is a jihadi army anyway.
It's very clear that the current American establishment has declared us enemy number one. Now you can hide behind it, you can try and
That's a very strong
cover
statement.
it. What else is it, yaar?
The interview begins by saying that the overseas Pakistani said that he's a victor for all Muslims, having defeated a kuffar nation after centuries.
My heart sort of. If you say a few more words, I'll start crying here.
There's a new word apparently in the dictionary, delulu.
You're wishing a country for independence and then you say including critical minerals and hydrocarbons and phosphate. Why?
If they have so many hydrocarbons and critical minerals that the Americans are salivating at their mouth to grab all of this, how come the Chinese, who have so much influence inside Pakistan, have not made a pitch for it?
If India is to counter a person like Hina Khar or the others who go on these American networks and all that,
When you have to engage with a ecosystem which is so anti-you, it has to be done at university level, it has to be done in colleges, students going abroad, it has to be politicians, ministry, embassies, people who are working there. If you want to do it, then you have to do 1, 2, 3. You can't, हाँ कर लेंगे, एक को delegation भेज दो.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching or listening to another edition of the ANI podcast with Smita Prakash. My guests today are Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF and one of the most popular commentators on social media and traditional media. Tilak Devesha, author and former member National Security Advisory Board, an expert on everything Pakistan. The podcast centers around a recent interaction that General Asim Munir had in Brussels with overseas Pakistanis. It was reported by journalist Suhail Warech of the Daily Jung. General Asim Munir, yes, it's perfectly fine to refer to a field marshal as a general. A field marshal is a ceremonial title, whereas he is the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan, a general. So as I was saying, General Asim Munir met with overseas Pakistanis in Brussels where they gushed over him. One person even kissed his hand, welcoming him as a victor, paying him tributes for the victory of a Muslim country soldier over a kafir nation after centuries. There are more gems in this interview, but first, let's get the views of the experts on this panel. But here's a friendly reminder, I am in the room and these are my guests. So my views are also part of the show and the guests are mine, the show is mine. So I humbly submit that if you are here, you're here for the three of us. Thank you, Sushant. Thank you, Tilak. Thank you so much for coming at short notice for this, discussion on the interaction that Asim Munir had with overseas Pakistanis, and with the article is out in Jung. So I want to discuss what Field Marshal Asim Munir said. I'll ask you both about what your take.
Self-styled field marshal.
Self-styled Field Marshal. And it's okay to call a Field Marshal a general, so I'm going to refer to him as Asim Munir or General Munir. He spoke
But don't
to
call him
these...
Field Marshal General Munir.
Nahin,
A lot of
obviously.
people are making this
Most
mistake.
Pakistanis say this. General Field Marshal Munir.
Aye. Please, no. Field Marshal Asim Munir. The interview begins by saying that the overseas Pakistani said that he's a victor for all Muslims, having defeated a kuffar nation after centuries. And let me ask about this. How do you feel about this, about overseas Pakistanis kissing his hand and saying, you have...
This is all stage managed. The entire thing is stage managed. Why would somebody sitting in Brussels, do this kind of fawning? These are all staged people who are brought there and to do this. He didn't win. Pakistan didn't win anything. As it is now coming out and more details, the thing, to kufr, they are still harking back 800 years. They still think that, they are on horsemen with, and that also, unke apne heroes to hain nahi na. They're all Afghans, or Turks. What hero did Pakistan produce?
But if their heroes were Turks, and actually, see, most of the overseas Pakistanis, especially the ones in Europe, were basically toilet cleaners who went out there. Some of them made some shops or something. Most of them live on dole, especially in Britain. They don't do any work. They just procreate and that is their revenue stream. But and I'm not joking. This is a fact. Or they're criminals. But the thing is that they don't remember their own history of the last 100 years. There was a Muslim nation which had defeated an infidel nation, which was Turkey. Turkey under Ataturk had defeated the other powers.
So it's not centuries,
So
but
it's not centuries,
but they
it's about 100 years. And even subsequently, there have been some struggles and battles. But Pakistanis themselves say that they've defeated India in every war.
that's what I'm saying.
So if they've defeated
doesn't
India in
matter.
every war, how come after so many centuries, Asim Munir has defeated India?
One thing can be the truth. Both can't be.
Both are false.
Both are false.
Okay.
But the fact is that there's a new word apparently in the dictionary, delulu.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
delulu.
So it's delusion beyond delusion. It's delulu. Now, you're saying it's stage managed. Remember Pahalgam ke pehle bhi, when before the Pahalgam attack, there was another interaction that he had with overseas Pakistanis, but this time they had arrived in Pakistan and he was lecturing them and speaking to them. Now, this article by Jung, obviously he's like very enamored by the whole show that was put up, where all these guys are fawning over Asim Munir, and Asim Munir is not impacted. He's taking selfies and photographs with all of them. Somehow those photographs have not yet come out in the social media, but apparently he took pictures with all of them. And in this interview...
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
How could he have taken pictures? Because everybody says that nobody is allowed to take any electronic equipment inside. So who was taking the pictures?
Good question.
Right?
Huh.
So the problem with the Pakistanis is they are so steeped in lies, and they lie so much that they don't even, nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye hai. They don't have it.
So he shook hands with everybody, apparently. And when he said कि आप थक नहीं जाएंगे, he says कहाँ दूर दूर से आए हैं. I'm shaking hands with them.
Very
This very
modest.
magnanimous kind
And
of.
modest.
My heart sort of. If you say a few more words, I'll start crying here.
हाँ, इतना emotionally करना ना interview को starting में. So in this interview, he says, he's quoted as saying, Asim Munir says, God has made me the protector of the country. I am a soldier and my greatest desire is martyrdom. So God has made me, like, now there's a God complex कि भगवान ने मेरे को ये दिया हुआ है काम करने को. Allah has sent me.
यार see, भगवान ने मुझे एक एनालिस्ट बनाया है. God has made him a former operative. So God has made everybody everything, right? According to them. But look, one is a God complex. But if he is so interested in martyrdom, why was he hiding in a bunker?
Unverified hai Sushant again.
Okay, so why wasn't he on the front lines? Why didn't he strap a missile around himself or himself around a missile and land in Delhi to attain martyrdom?
And that's the crazy thing. He's awarded himself this gallantry award
For
which
doing
is
nothing.
given for action, which was given for a military action. If you read the thing, he was given for all the activities that he did from 26th April to 10th May. That is like distinguished service or something like that. It's not a gallantry award, but he's given himself the equivalent of a Mahavir Chakra.
But did Musharraf and the earlier chiefs of army staff of Pakistan
Not
ever
gallantry.
say that God has made me what I am?
No,
Like God ने बोला है कि India को attack करो. I don't remember.
I don't recall.
I don't recall
But
any
his
of
is
them.
so transparently false, to get martyrdom. So everybody wants martyrdom. They all want to be shaheed. Or if they win, they
Benazir
Ghazi.
also used to have this Shaheed complex.
They all say it,
Huh.
but the moment, if they are so keen on becoming shaheeds, why don't they travel without security? Right. So this is a load of nonsense, right? But the fact of the matter remains that he is also somebody who has a jihadized mindset. Please remember, Mr. Deveshwar would probably bear me out on this. For very long in the Indian security establishment, in the military, in the intelligence services, foreign office, there has been this thing that there will be a time when all those officers who were recruited during the Zia years, when the transformation in the Pakistan army from a quasi-Islamist army to a fully Islamist army had taken place. Now, Bajwa was technically the first army chief. But Bajwa was commissioned in around 1980 when it was still a transition happening. This guy was commissioned in 86. By when that Islamist thing in the Pakistan army had become part of the curriculum, had become part of the indoctrination of the officers.
Right.
So he is the first army chief of what these guys normally call the Zia Bharti. And I suspect that you're going to see more and more of this as you go forward.
Next 10 years at least. Next 10 years.
Completely radicalized.
But even after that, sir, they
It'll,
haven't.
it'll gradually taper off. But this guy is a peculiar
Why would
case.
it taper off?
Because after Zia was replaced by Aslam Beg and other chiefs who came were less of that
Radical. Okay.
mindset that Zia was.
Okay.
So it will taper off. It will remain.
Huh.
The influence will remain. But
But sir,
it'll
apart
taper.
from,
The Zia period of 10 years was very intense. Tablighi Jamaat coming to the cantonments and all kinds of slogans written, and people were told that your CRs depend on the length of your beard. So that kind of a mindset was virulent during the Zia period.
Okay.
but it didn't
Even
change.
for a Fauji? The length of beard for a Fauji
yeah,
also?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether you were observing rosas, all of that. Whether you were attending the Friday prayers, stuff like that.
And how
All
many
of
people
that.
went to the Tablighi Jamaat Ijtima and things like that, It was very, very strictly observed.
So he's a product of that.
He's a product of that. And then he is a Hafiz of Quran to boot. So he is
and
one step
belongs
ahead.
to, and his father himself is
Yeah.
a cleric.
So explain that to me. What does it mean?
So that means he has learned to memorize the Quran by heart. So at every drop of a hat, you find that he is dropping stuff. The
Quranic verses.
Yeah. Riyasat-e-Tayyibah, which he mentioned in the April thing. Then the name of this operation, which people found it so difficult to pronounce.
Yeah.
Bunyan
And it's out.
Marsus.
It's out of the Quran.
Yeah. So all these kinds of things, he is now giving, trying to show.
Why doesn't he name his army also Lashkar-e-Taiba?
Huh, might as well.
Might as well. Because
Yeah.
if it's Riyasat-e-Taiba,
Soldiers of
then
God,
Lashkar-e-Taiba.
supposedly. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? But, so that's why you come back to what people were saying out there, ki, victory over the kuffars. So it's become a kind of a dharmic war, a religious war, that you're having, where it's Islam versus Hindu state. Because every politician there is saying the same thing, that Modi is a Hindutva guy, he's going to demonize the Muslims in the country and then, wipe out Islam from here. So they take it upon themselves to become the protectors of Muslims who have been left behind in India. So it becomes a religious war.
So like jihad, see the jihadis, Tanzeem said openly.
Correct.
And the motto of the Pakistan army after Zia, jihad for Sabilullah, jihad in the name of God. So that is all par for the course as far as the army is concerned.
But that's for the parallel army, right? Not for the...
No, the motto of the Pakistan army. Motto of the Pakistan army is faith, discipline and jihad in the name of God. Zia changed this. Instead of Jinnah's unity, faith, discipline, he brought in this jihad thing. So it is the jihadi army anyway. That is their motto, that is their slogan.
Okay.
But please also remember that they have presented every conflict with India as a conflict of Islam versus Kufr. So whether it was the 1965 war, even 48, right? 1965, what was Ayub Khan saying to all his soldiers? That one Muslim is equal to 10 Hindus, that this is a war against the infidels, stuff like that. What was Bhutto? Bhutto was also an Islamist. Now, you see, our problem is that when we look at a Pakistani and we see him wearing a nice western cut suit, we think he must be a normal guy. He's not. That's just, a put on thing. Or you see a Shari Rahman or Hina Rabbani Khan,
Imran Khan.
nice clipped accent. Imran Khan. Well, Imran Khan was very openly and avowedly
Taliban
a
Khan.
born-again Muslim. But all these others, who pretend that they're very liberal, moderate, progressive, they're not. They keep slaves in their farms in South Punjab. So, but I'm saying that every single conflict and even a cricket match is presented as a war of Islam versus non-Islam. So they win a cricket match and they say that We congratulate all the Muslims of the world. 90% or
Yeah, he's
99% of the
Shahid
Muslims don't give a
Afridi.
damn about a cricket
Yeah.
match anyways, right? Nobody in Arabia or in the Arab world or even in Southeast Asia watches cricket. So the point is that they have this, again, Delulu. So what do you do about
So,
it?
you know, when India attacked Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, it was not a religious thing. We were not attacking, or India was not attacking religious places, right? It was attacking terrorist places. So for India, it was a war on terror.
Yeah.
The India goal, which was the terror factories, so attack that. It was not to attack a mosque or to attack a seminary or whatever, a madrasa where terrorists were being trained. No, it was to attack terror centers. When the response came, then India attacked the military targets the second time
Yeah.
that it happened. But it's still viewed by Pakistan. So regardless of what India does, it will always be a religious war for Pakistan.
That's the
Am
only
I
way
right?
they can motivate people.
Okay.
You see, to get people together, get that Josh, that Jazba going. Okay, this is the command that was given to us. And this is exactly what we are doing. You know, it is for that. They can't fight or they can't say something on a secular basis
Huh.
that we are attacking India to, take revenge. Revenge for what? So this religious element will always be there in anything and everything that Pakistan does.
Plus, there was a narrative thing. See, they can't say that India attacked terror centers. So what did they say? That India attacked mosques and madrasas and civilians. Okay, because this is how they are going to justify their retaliation against India.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So one was what Mr. Deveshwar is saying, but alongside it, in parallel, was this, that you cannot say that India was attacking terror centers. We say that Bahawalpur or Muridke or the places in Kotli and other places that we struck, those 9 camps, these are terrorist training camps. Now the thing is that some of the Western media, and most of the Western media has these Pakistani handlers, or these guys who are stringing for these Western media houses. Now they go and they show a board outside. अब इनके दफ्तर के बाहर ये तो नहीं लिखा होगा ना कि ये रा का दफ्तर है, right?
Yeah.
There'll be no board.
Yeah.
Or there will be some nice innocuous board that agriculture or fisheries department or something like that. Okay.
Public Works Department.
Public Works Department, something, or education or something like that, where nobody wants to go anyways, right? The thing is that they will show a board like that outside some of these camps that were hit, which said that this is a social service center or a social something. You don't take it at face value. There was something else happening inside
Insidious
that
happening
damn place,
there. Yes.
right? And quite clearly, so they were trying to pretend that these targets that were hit by the Indians, we had just targeted civilians and wantonly killed some civilians. You know,
But
these
nobody
innocent
bought
people.
that.
Nobody buys that.
Nobody
Everybody
buys
knows
it,
what
but
Muridke was. Everybody knows Bahawalpur. So, nobody buys it. But, they have to put on this facade. Put on this facade.
But they
this
took
certificate.
the foreign media, and the foreign media was stationed in Islamabad. Unko sabko le gaye. And the foreign media seems to lap up everything that Islamabad has to say. I'll get into the media part later. Let's first do this, do the article first. He hasn't, Asim Munir hasn't given interviews. Unlike General Musharraf, who used to love speaking to the media and all. He's not done that. He's not given an interview. This is also doesn't seem like a formal sit-down interview, one-on-one interview. It's more like an interaction that happened. But there are Pakistani commentators who are wondering whether this is a kind of a soft launch of Asim Munir into maybe, stage a soft coup, maybe get into a civilian position, president ban jayega, ya fir whatever. What do you see?
You see, in this case, even the journalist Sohail Baraj, he words it very, very sophisticatedly. From the stage, he talks about it was actually an event which he was addressing. Now, as you rightly said, whether he sat aside with him and did the one-on-one interview, because the questions and answers are pretty wishy-washy.
Yeah.
It's not a definitive kind of an interview which a journalist is doing with somebody.
But he claims it was an interview later, which was given to him exclusively. And
But
in the
or he's
Urdu
derived
version,
the interview from the questions or from the event.
no, but in the Urdu version, he says, I asked him some very tough questions.
Rough, even.
Rough questions or tough questions.
But in the article, there are no questions
Yeah, so he has presented it not
As
as a
a-
Q&A,
as an event.
but yeah, as an interaction that I was, sitting and I was talking, and this is what all we spoke about. But he claims that the questions that he had put to him, some of them were really tough or rough or whatever you khurdare sawal. He says that. Okay, the thing is that it doesn't seem from the responses. It seems like a very softball kind of an interview that
Yeah.
here is a full toss, hit it for a six.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing.
So and he also mentions about Afghanistan, where he says that he warns India that don't we, he said Pakistan would avenge the blood of every Pakistani, and then India should be careful and not use Afghans as proxies. It's not a new thing which Pakistanis are saying. They've been saying this for years. Do you see anything else in this? Do you see?
No, he says he warns the Afghans about TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. He also mentions that. They've been warning the Taliban for years. Barring the first 6 months
No, but
after.
he's also warning India that don't use Afghans as proxies.
Yeah. See, with India, the thing is, they have to find some excuse for not being able to deal with the Baloch or with the TTP.
Yeah, the safest thing to do is to blame it on
Same
India.
thing is कि ये बाहर से उनको मदद मिल रही है.
And what they're
Beirut
doing-
conspiracy, that kind of a thing.
Huh.
You know, the statistics, if you say, of this Global Terrorism Index 2025, there are about 57 security personnel being killed every month. 57. Can you imagine that level of attrition?
And where is this happening?
In Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa?
I think it's more. If you look at the figures being put out by the Baloch independence groups
Yeah.
and by the TTP
it's
itself,
much more.
and TTP is only one part of it.
Yeah.
There are these other
groups, yeah.
groups, Islamist groups which are fighting out there. But see, the interesting thing is, this same fellow, Munir, has said it earlier publicly, that for me, the life of one Pakistani is more precious than the life of all Afghans. Something to that effect. There was a huge reaction inside Afghanistan that, you don't say stuff like this.
Yeah.
One. Secondly, these guys, when they blame India, and what do they say? That the funding is going from India. But just yesterday, Maulana Fazlur Rahman says that, look, they are taking a 10% cut. The TTP and other guys, the militants in KP, are taking a 10% cut from every government contract, which means it's not the Indian taxpayer who's funding the TTP, it's the Pakistani taxpayer who's funding the TTP. So how are they blaming us?
It's only an excuse. It's just that to cover.
It's nonsense.
You know, Beirut conspiracy, their favorite word which they use. That's other people. Basically, the fact is the army is failing. The Pakistan army is failing in Balochistan and KPK to tackle a very serious insurgency.
Do you think that he made the trip this time to America, getting the Majid Brigade into the list, all that he's doing because he's basically told the Americans, I need your help to control the situation in Balochistan and in KPK, otherwise it's a lost cause?
So, he's opening himself up to the question, what are the Chinese doing? The Chinese must have asked him the same thing, what are you doing? We have invested, we have put down about $24 billion, and you can't even protect us.
And you assured us that you will be giving us protection.
Yeah. See, BLA was banned in 2019. It is this Majid Brigade, which they say is an alias. Basically, trying to signal to Pakistan. This is what the US, I think, signal to Pakistan, look, we can do this. You facilitate our mineral exploration in Balochistan.
Huh.
But Americans also know, you see, unlike the Chinese, the Americans are not going to put any of their own people. They don't have prison labor.
But he's
the
also
Chinese
said
have.
that, don't ask us, which he says it, and so did Hina Rabani Khar, that don't ask us to choose between China and America. We know how to handle both. And why should we be pushed to one corner and the other, and not to the other corner? We both are our friends. So basically, कि हम दोनों से लूट
वो भी
लेंगे.
strategic autonomy क्या, basically.
हाँ,
No, that is
sovereignty.
their version of strategic autonomy.
But they've made a choice. The fact
What
that
if they made a choice?
the fact that they praised President Trump so much, nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize, I don't think so they're ever going to nominate President Xi for the Nobel Peace
But that
Prize.
they know that's never happening.
Nor is she is so desperate as
Okay.
Trump is
Yeah.
that he's writing to the Norwegian guys, what happened to my name, what this is what bureaucrats in India do. साहब मेरा नाम आगे गया कि नहीं उसके
पद्मा
लिए
award
कुछ
के लिए।
हाँ, पद्मा अवार्ड के लिए.
No, but have they squeezed as much as they could from the Chinese, and now hence because of that going to the
I
Americans?
think the Chinese hold them by the unmentionables.
Yeah.
So I
Chinese
don't
are not
think
going
you
to let
can,
go. Chinese won't let go.
They won't let go, and I look. Much of their defense equipment comes from China. A lot of the money which they owe comes from China. China has, I think, almost, if I'm not mistaken, sir, correct me, almost 30% of their foreign debt is owed to
In
the
fact, even
Chinese.
more, because the CPEC debt is very well disguised. You say, this is not a sovereign debt. Actually, all the investment that the Chinese have done are all with sovereign guarantees.
Sovereign guarantees.
So the Chinese debt is much more.
Yeah.
They just pass around this 30% to please the IMF, but the Chinese debt is much more.
So doesn't Washington know this?
Of course.
Of course,
Washington.
you know it.
They know it. So how is Pakistan acceptable as an ally to Trump when they are so much in bed with China?
But there's so
As
many other
Gordon Gekko said, greed is good.
there's so many different aspects involved. Pakistan, everybody knows, is a rogue state.
They are
It's in
calling
bed with
India
China.
a rogue state. Pakistan now is going to every Western media outlet and saying India is a rogue state. Whether it's Sherry Rahman, whether it is Hina Khar, whether it's Shahbaz Sharif.
So, they say that Hitler's law, the greater the lie, the bigger it is believed, the better it is believed. Similarly, if you keep saying every day that phrase which they use for the TTP and the
Fitna al-Khawarij.
Fitna Hindustan,
Fitna Hindustan are the Baloch guys.
Yeah.
Fitna
So you
al-Khawarij
keep
are the...
repeating it ad nauseum, then, it starts having resonance in the media or something like that. But the fact of the matter why the US is getting attracted to Pakistan, this is the fourth time. 3 times in the past, Pakistan's geography has been attractive to the US. Ayub Khan's time, Zia's time, and Musharraf's time. Now, the US could well have an interest in Pakistan because of either Iran, whatever plans they have
Yeah.
for Iran, or for strategic minerals. And this is what Pakistan has managed to convince the Americans that एक तो हमारे पास oil है और एक strategic minerals है कुछ नहीं. At least nothing has been proven. Nothing has been
okay.
proven.
But he says that even in this article, he says that that there's Pakistan's going to be a prosperous country because of rare earth minerals, and he claims that ye wala
Dekho,
part
dekho.
hai, that Pakistan's debt will be reduced and we'll soon be among the most
Yaar,
prosperous
main-
societies.
The 30 years I have been looking at Pakistan, he's probably been looking at it longer. I've heard this every 2-3 years. Okay, one. In fact, I just wrote something for ORF in which I had dug out something in 1973. Somebody had said we are sitting on pata nahi how many billions of barrels of oil in the Indus Basin. Not one barrel has been discovered out there, right? So the point is, this is the standard snake oil which the Pakistani leadership sells to their people. I gave examples of the Sharif saying that in Chiniot we were digging for iron ore and we've discovered, Allah ki mehrbani se, we have got gold and copper deposit in Punjab. Not a damn kilogram has come out of there. This whole Rico Dick thing which they are talking
Balochistan mein jo hai.
about, the whole, before this was something called Sendak. Sendak was supposed to change their fate and fortune of the country. Nothing has happened. I think they made $3 billion over 30 years. In Rico Dick, the company which has got the main concession claims that over 37 years, we will make something like $74 billion, which is roughly $2 billion, which this joker is mentioning. $2 billion a year. Now, if in $2 billion a year, it will change the fate and destiny of your nation, then you are worse than Micronesia, also.
No, besides, this mine was discovered in 1993.
Okay.
Today is 2025.
Yeah.
Commercial mining has not begun on the scale.
It'll still take a couple of years.
Yes.
But he's
because
holding
Saudi
that-
Arabia, they are talking.
And said no.
Kabhi haan, kabhi na, kabhi haan,
No, I think the Saudis have backed off.
They backed off.
So Barak Gold is left holding the baby. And so, the Chinese interest is there.
And Barrick Gold is, from what I am hearing, and let me know if you are also hearing the same things. From what I am hearing, Barrick Gold is actually trying to offload a lot of its equity. Because they don't want to be carrying the can when, the unmentionable hits the fan.
Yeah.
So they are saying, ki, let us cut our losses.
And give it to other people.
Let's farm it all out so that we spread our risk.
We went through a lot of litigation. There was this Chief Justice Chaudhary, Iftikhar Chaudhary.
Iftikhar Chaudhary.
He created a lot of chaos in the renewal of the thing. Barak Gold then sued Pakistan and they won their case, and Pakistan was supposed to pay about $6 or $7 billion.
Yeah.
Then they negotiated and they sort of came back, and
They gave them about $1 billion. They gave them about $1 billion.
so, to get rare earths, you require a complete ecosystem. Geological surveys, which are peer reviewed. You need heavy machinery. None of that you see visible on the ground.
State Department gives an Independence Day message, and in that Independence Day message, which I found very strange, you're wishing a country for independence, and then you say, including critical minerals and hydrocarbons and phosphate. Why?
Because that is the carrot that has been dangled before the American donkey. No, seriously.
And that's how they have to justify to the people. Everybody says Pakistan. Are you going nuts? You're going to Pakistan and giving up India? So they have to sell it.
But इतने ढ तो नहीं है Americans की just because State Department is saying critical
अब
minerals.
मेरा मुंह मत खुलवाओ.
Yaar, okay, here is a question. And maybe I'm being naive about it. If they have so many hydrocarbons and critical minerals that the Americans are salivating at their mouth to grab all of this, how come the Chinese, who have so much influence inside Pakistan, have not made a pitch for it?
Point.
And same thing
It's
with
a simple
Afghanistan.
question.
Afghanistan, massive amount of minerals. The Chinese are going in and all that. Simple question. Americans were there for 20 years. Did they do anything?
Yeah.
And the Chinese are going to go and, hey, they're going to find something just like that.
Yeah.
Itna aasan nahi hota. It's not, it doesn't work that way.
So I want to come back to that question. Do you think that Asim Munir is testing waters with this article, and is he going to be, will he be happy with just fading out into the sunset after?
No chance.
No.
He's not going away.
His term ends in November, right?
The first 3-year term. He can, after the 26th Amendment, get a 2-year. See, the part of the problem today, the turmoil, why Munir is running around like a hare, he can get a 2-year extension. Will he? He can't be sure till daskat ho jaye.
But, there
Kaun
is,
karega?
tell me something. There is a bit of confusion on that. So the original term of the army chief is 3 years, which means that his term ends in November this year. But then they came up with the 26th Amendment, in which the term of the army chief is now 5 years. So the question is that is his term supposed to end in 23 or 25 or 27? I don't think there's any clarity whether a new notification has to be given for his term to be extended to 2027 under the 26th Amendment. That is one. The second, and if it's still 2027, then the question of an extension will come only in 2027. But according to the 26th Amendment, now there is no limit to how long an army chief can keep getting
So
extensions.
the age limit has been removed.
Yeah, so the age limit is no longer there.
And
so
now that he's a field marshal, he said, "मैं तो वैसे ही नहीं retire कर रहा."
he can carry on and on and on.
So he becomes what? That chief marshal, law administrator.
no,
that
why
kind
should
of-
he?
Why
He
should
doesn't
No,
need to give any
I
more
think he
title.
will need an extension in come November.
I'm
feel-
not sure about the legal
Yeah.
position.
He gives himself an extension, or
No, it
will
has to be
Zardari
a-
will have to give an
You see, it's
extension?
No, the government has to.
It's a very,
Shahbaz Sharif.
When Nawaz Sharif sacked Musharraf and appointed Ziauddin as his successor, the reason it wasn't accepted by the rest of the government system, because the section officer of the Ministry of Defence had not signed the order. Nawaz Sharif may have said that Ziauddin is the army chief. But like in all bureaucracies in the subcontinent, the SO has to order and give the file number. Then the order is legal.
Huh.
वो नहीं किया था. Similarly, in the case of Asim Munir, he can give himself an extension, but the section officer will have to sign on it. This Bajwa को देखा था.
हाँ.
Bajwa didn't want to hand over the baton either.
Are they all disappearing into Portugal? ये भी मैंने सुना
This is a new thing which has
that
come up.
instead of going
Land
to
is cheap,
Dubai,
so, yeah.
they're going to Portugal now.
No, that is because, see, Malta, Portugal, some of these countries have have a scheme of golden visa. So all the wealth which you loot from Pakistan, so the generals and the officials and others, you will either park them in Malta or one of these other European smaller states, or you will park it in Portugal. And Portugal became a favorite destination also because it was relatively easier. The paperwork is not so complicated as far as they're concerned. And once you spend a few years out there, then you automatically qualify for, citizenship. And then you become a member of the EU. So that means you are free to travel and settle anywhere in
So you're
the
talking
European
about
Union.
wealth that these guys have made. Now, many people say, wealth hai kya? If it's such a Bikaristan that everybody thinks it is, if it's such a poor country, where is the army making its wealth from? Of course,
You name
there's-
where isn't.
Oh,
The
no,
question
so
should
how?
be-
There has to be something,
Look,
right? एक तो opium trade hai, that everybody knows that the Pakistan is involved in it. Officially, the Pakistan army has an
But look at the
division.
business interests. Cornflakes, soaps, you name it, you name the product. You'll find a Fauji in front of it.
Huh.
Fauji cornflakes, Askari Bank. So they are into, they've got their fingers into every pie. This is the legitimate kind of thing. But otherwise, look at the land in Cholistan. It is given to them as a desert for 30 years service or something. They pull out an illegal canal from the main canal, grow it, and sell it for about 40 or 50 times the cost.
See, essentially, it is called Bikaristan, one, it's the state of Pakistan which is bankrupt. Second, it is a small bunch of people, maybe 1 or 2% of the people, which includes senior military officials, even middle-ranking ones, bureaucrats, some politicians, who are very wealthy.
Okay.
Now, they are not wealthy by Adani Ambani standards or even Mahindra or any of these other big Indian business house standard. By local standard, they're very wealthy. And these are people who have no stake in Pakistan. In the sense they want to, Pakistan is a good place to loot money from, but not a good money to invest money in. And there have been people inside Pakistan, for example, one of their economists keeps asking this question that, listen, how many billion-dollar companies are there in Pakistan? And there are maybe 1 or 2. Okay, you look at the net worth of the Tata Group, it is more than the GDP of Pakistan. So the question is, when you say that where is the wealth coming from, the wealth is individual wealth, which is partly through extortion, smuggling networks which the Pakistan army runs. It's through land. The only industry which actually has made any money in Pakistan, and any country where real estate makes all the money, is a country which is heading for failure. So it's real estate which is the most precious commodity in Pakistan,
Okay.
which is where most of these generals and others make money. So what happens at every rank, you would know this better, they get 2 plots, one commercial, one residential. तो वो एक को बेच को एक को बनाते हैं, the next rank they'll get 2 more.
Okay, the political families of Pakistan, most of them have sent their children abroad. They live abroad. फिर वो आते हैं and see if the situation is okay, then they come back. Otherwise, they all park themselves abroad. They're completely divorced from the reality of Pakistan. In spite of that, these overseas Pakistanis seem to have a lot of impact back home. The way they came out there, Asim Munir talking to them, then this attack happens. And the social media presence of Pakistanis is pretty strong. Okay, India mein ban kar diya Operation Sindoor ke time. But the fact is that they are continuing with their narrative on social media, which the rest of the world is watching and reading.
So there, the diaspora basically is 2 kinds. One is the stage managed thing, which is limited, which will be pro-government or pro-army. Bulk of the diaspora is pro-Imran Khan. The social media handles of the Imran Khan network are far stronger than what the army has or what Nawaz
It was
Sharif
set up by ISPR.
They've all
Some
gone
of
rogue. They've gone rogue and gone after Imran Khan. So Imran Khan continues to retain his popularity.
So those handles can't really criticize Asim Munir while they used to criticize Asim Munir in the battle between Munir and Imran
They're
Khan.
criticizing him tremendously abroad. They sort of lobbied and got a bill introduced in the US Congress naming Asim Munir by name.
But not after this attack with India, not after the
Yeah,
India war.
but it's just been 3 months.
Yeah.
Congress has its own sort of schedule and timeline.
No, but I don't think it's so much about. I think you have a point, Smita. That has happened.
Yeah.
The vituperation against the military before Op Sindoor has, of course, got diluted.
Yeah.
But it is now coming back. As so they had this time when they went to Imran Khan and they pleaded with him to rein in his social media warriors. Imran, like an idiot, did it. Okay. And the moment these guys were out of the woods and they managed to manufacture a narrative of their own, which they keep mouthing at every stage, they dumped Imran again. So they had given him certain assurances and they've dumped him. Now, his own stormtroopers are, I suspect, a little nonplussed by what has happened. And they are not able to, manage that thing that, okay, how do we go back to the old narrative?
I mean, because if the rest of Pakistan is looking at Asim Munir as a war hero, how can this bunch of social media handles go on attacking Asim Munir even though their hero is still in jail?
Exactly.
So,
it is happening. You see, you find all the YouTubers...
थोड़ा सा असमंजस है.
Because during that particular time, because people were confused on
Right.
what exactly happened. Now you find...
They don't know
that
whether they love Imran Khan more or hate India more. So,
And
all
also
the
2
YouTubers-
years out of sight is a little difficult. You have a hero who's
all the
out of sight for
YouTubers
2 years.
who were supportive of Imran Khan and who had to flee Pakistan, they are all back and they're all very, very critical of Asim Munir and the government.
Okay.
But one indicator, you see, 5th of August was 2 years of Imran Khan behind bars. And he had given a call for a massive movement and stuff like that. It fizzled out. Then it became, you decentralize it to the district level. Districts mein jo hain, wo apna program kare. It doesn't work that way in Pakistan.
Correct.
This decentralization doesn't work. You have to have a leader who's marching in front and everybody will
This
come behind.
revolution is losing its steam, right? Without a hero fronting it, that whole movement, Tehreek, is to me it seems like that.
See,
No?
one of the reasons. No, you're right, and one of the reasons is the viciousness with which they crack down on members of his party. See, there is no rule of law in Pakistan. There never was, but at least they had a pretension in the past. Now, even the pretension has gone.
Gone, okay.
So it is the army which decides whether Tilak Deveshwar is guilty or not guilty. Now, if he has to come out of prison, it is not the judge. The judge is only there as a rubber stamp.
Which
It is the local captain, major colonel who will decide whether the guy is to come out of prison or
the
not.
first time you find a large number of ladies, women, who are behind bars for supporting Imran Khan's movement. That's quite a...
But actually, his women supporters have shown far greater intrepidness and
Courage.
bravery, courage than the men.
So
A coward like this chief minister of KP, who's a loudmouth and bombastic and everything, is the biggest coward who is willing to go and lie prostrate at the feet of the army. But it's the women supporters of Imran Khan
Who came out on the streets.
who are ready to go to jail.
Yeah. So here he says on a question of politics, he says political reconciliation is possible by apologizing sincerely. Now I don't know ye
But
Urdu
this is
mein
not the
kya tha.
complete thing. So I saw it on a YouTube, a YouTuber. He said, let Imran Khan try for 10 years. He won't be able to remove me. So much for reconciliation. This is what was reported by Sohail Baresh. But what he actually said was, let Imran Khan try for 10 years. तो कहाँ reconciliation की बात? This is only for the gallery.
He's not going to.
He's
be
not
sincere.
going to.
He's not even going for 10 years. And so long as he's not going, Imran Khan is not coming out of jail.
Let me come back to the YouTubers and the social media handles of Pakistan. So Operation Sindoor, India bans all of them. Indians can't see ये लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं. Right? What are the social media handles saying? What is the narrative being put out by Dawn, Express Tribune, all these newspapers? Indians can't see it. So Indians can't counter it because Indians are not seeing it. They are putting out their stuff, whatever. but the rest of the world is watching it. The rest of the embassies where we sent delegations, India sent its delegations to talk, they are reading what Drawn is saying, and India is not refuting it. By India, I mean Indian media is not refuting, whether
Because it
social,
doesn't know.
traditional, because we haven't seen it. None of us, I mean, जिनके पास VPN है, वो जाएंगे and all that. So it's not. So I don't understand. Okay, it maybe there was some reason why YouTube gets banned because they were making money. Pakistani people are making money out of YouTube because Indians are watching it. But what is the bigger villain? The Pakistani narrative or the few YouTubers are the villains?
Obviously the narrative.
The
Obviously,
narrative.
yeah.
So does it continue to make sense to ban the social media handles and the YouTubers?
The bigger villain is the inability of the government in India to understand how narratives are built, how modern communication technology is working, how you connect to people, who are on social media. So, for example, in Kargil, during Kargil, and you would remember, you are very active those days also, we used to hold a press conference, which was very effective. We used to hold a press conference every evening. There were Colonel Bikram Singh, later General, and there was Jassal, right?
Raminder Jassal, JSXP.
Yeah, and both very articulate, very good briefings they would give, but that was the time of television. You could do one briefing in the evening and get away with it. Today, the Noor Khan Air Base is bombed. Within 5 minutes, I am seeing it on Twitter, virtually real time, right? But my government is giving me a briefing the next day. How does this work? So one, they never understood how this system works.
Or else on sources information was being given.
Acha, the sources information
that became
also.
a little awkward.
It became awkward because you gave the right information but without giving accurate information. So you said Karachi has been bombed, but you didn't say what in Karachi has been bombed. You never gave the information the way information should have been given out. The press conferences which we were holding, and now, again, I know I'm going to be pilloried for it. People are going to abuse me. Frankly speaking, those were not done well. If you ask me, those were not done well.
Okay.
Because you were hardly giving out the kind of information which would set a narrative.
And it also has to be unfortunate because when we ask that ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हो आप, we can't, television and social media and internet cannot wait for those two press conferences a day, one at 4 o'clock, one at 8 o'clock. The response we got was that we are busy with a war-like situation. War नहीं बोल रहे थे, war-like situation. Media can't be fed on a constant basis. You're a hungry beast. We can't keep feeding you. So
Then don't complain.
Then don't complain.
Please.
That's a choice I think the government made.
Good or bad.
But sir,
We take a hit. No, I agree with you.
Sir,
I'm
my-
not disputing.
my
you.
point is
so that
there
is
are-
the choice which government made.
there are-
But the point, you coming back to banning of media, it may have had an importance at that particular time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. I think now, barring a few virulent YouTubers who you can identify and you can block them, but at least the media, the newspaper, the print media, and the articles that are being written and the kind of narrative that is being set should be opened up.
Yeah.
Because I don't see to continue it for a long time, unless of course there's a feeling that it is sending a signal that we are wanting to,
मैं
get
ये
back.
कह रही हूँ
I
that
don't know.
So,
how
no,
much how much are they going to make? Just if we think that, they are making hits by Indians clicking onto it, how much will they make? 2 crore, 5 crore,
But
6
you can't
crore?
regulate what Indians
No,
watch.
what I'm saying is...
What I'm saying is that it's up to the Indians. Don't watch that, yeah?
No, but
Once they know...
Even if they watch, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, does it matter if random Pakistanis make 5-6 crores? The point is, for every YouTube story that a Pakistani puts out, there'll be 20 YouTubers from India who will counter that.
Yeah.
Why are our guys being, considered less than a Pakistani
So
YouTuber?
I think you really need to think this thing through at the governmental level also. So for example, so when you say now that this was a considered decision by the government, see the government...
I'm just speculating.
No, I know.
I'm not part of the government.
Obviously,
but I was speculating.
I know. But my point is that the government needs to understand that modern warfares are fought on three prongs. First is, of course, the military and the kinetic prong. The second one is the diplomatic one. And the third one is the narrative one, right? The Infowars.
Absolutely.
Now, the point is you can't say, I am very busy with the kinetic one, so
Yeah.
the other two I'm going to ignore.
No.
Or I'm busy with two, so third one I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't. So at one level you say, I don't give a damn what somebody else is saying. At another level you are telling me, why are they saying this? Nobody is listening to me.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's also not unpatriotic to question the media policy of your government. You know, if we say that ye theek nahi hai, isko theek karo, it's not that I'm being unpatriotic at the time of a conflict. I'm just telling you that it's ineffective and improve your situation real time.
Because the entire Western media was plugging Pakistan's line. You know, where the New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, they are all in any case anti-India. But the kind of, on the 7th and 8th, the kind of bashing you got in the Western media, there was really no counter. Because as you rightly said, you didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know.
No, but look, so there
So
are.
even this article where he's talking garbage absolutely, Asim Munir, when he and the people saying "Ye kufar country ke upar" and all that. Now he has said this. The point is that if you are not on social media and if you are not bypassing and figuring out ki kya hai, you won't get access to this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, but look, so, okay, I'm a little conflicted out here. Part of me says that, look, for example, let's take this article. You can't, in the normal course, you cannot access Pakistani news media in India,
Yeah.
right? And yet, all Indian news organizations have VPNs and are monitoring. And most Indians, in any case, are not going to go to the Pakistani source. They will be going to an Indian source to see what is happening, right? So the Indian media is reporting on something which the Indian media thinks is newsworthy. Now, floods in Pakistan, 300 people dead, makes no news. Nobody gives a damn about Pakistanis out here, right? But somebody who's threatening nuclear war on you, people will give a damn about it. So, yes, the Indian media has reported this thing and pretty accurately.
Even what he said in Florida,
In
that
Florida.
half the world will blow up and things.
So, and again, a lot of people are expressing shock. But come on, you know it. This is a standard thing which the Pakistanis say.
But from American soil
that
to
was-
talk in Armageddon.
That was a shocker.
Yeah.
You know, and the US didn't do a thing about it. No pushback, no statement. Only thing they said was ask the Pakistanis.
No, but the US will not, because look, we know what the relationship between India and the US is now.
True. But
Like we want to live in denial,
for
we can deny it.
But for him,
It's a broken
to use
relationship.
American soil and that I will take half the world down with me. Half the world could also include Americans.
Yeah.
You know?
And he,
that was a
Zelensky
shocker for me.
hasn't said that. Putin hasn't said that.
Yeah.
This tin pot dictator goes and says this
Yeah.
out in America, and nothing from even the peaceniks.
Yeah.
Not even the Democrats. That
Putin said
you're
it.
talking about
Putin had threatened nuclear war.
from America?
No.
No.
Yeah.
He's not done that. I mean, I think even the Venezuelans, when they were like from UN, udhar bhi nahi bola tha. You know, so I just find it very bizarre that the Pakistan was for a long time a problem child. It's no longer a problem child. I think I asked this of, Pankaj Saran also, that does India read DC wrong every time and Pakistan reads DC right? Do you think that?
No, you see, it's a question of the US think that the need for tissue paper called Pakistan. As I mentioned, it happened thrice in the past. 3 times they required the services of Pakistan. When those time for the services is over, they throw the tissue paper away.
तो वो चाइना के पास चले जाते फिर.
But China doesn't do the same. China doesn't give any free lunches. Na? US ने, for example, $30 billion दे दिए during this war on
उड़ा
terror.
उठा के वो सारे J series planes दे रहे हैं उनको, radar उनको दे रहे हैं.
They
What
may be
else do you
giving them
want?
at friendship prices, but there's going to be a bill.
Operation Sindoor became expensive for us because of the radar's locations that was being given.
But how
to
effective were
Pakistan.
they?
They were pretty effective.
Huh?
They were
Yeah.
effective.
No, but I think the handling of it was well taken care of. If there were as much as there was supposed to be, those missiles and all that, as the NSA said in IIT Madras, show me one window which was broken.
No, that is true. So the initial thing was an ambush. Subsequently, they lost the surprise advantage, after which they got taken out. But the thing is,
again, that can be
look,
debated.
on the US question, my own sense, and please feel free to push back, if it was just about using Pakistan as toilet paper, I don't have a problem. Okay, let the Americans use them. I think from an Indian point of view, what is a lot more sinister for me is that the Americans are now using the Pakistanis as a lever against us, which actually buttresses the old thinking in the Indian mind that it's the Americans who have always propped up Pakistan to keep India down, which becomes a major confidence barrier between India and the United States if ever you want to pick up the pieces also. And that, to my mind, is a greater problem than any temporary trust deficit or difference of opinion. More than that, if I feel that you are always going to use him against me, I've always felt it and now I see it happen, then I'm never going to
But
trust
that's always
you.
happened, and it will. Sushant, if you remember in '65, Ayub Khan would not have dared do Operation Gibraltar or Grand Slam because these weapons came to Pakistan. Pakistan felt bolstered that yes, now we can take on India before India becomes too strong because we've got Patton tanks, we've got saber jets. So 71 of the different case was 71. It was a problem in East Pakistan, but this thing will get reinforced in India. I don't know whether the Pakistani establishment and President Trump and company realize that what they're doing today, that's why it took 20 years of bipartisan support to get India-US relations to where they were.
And has it gone back? Has it
It's
gone
taken a
back
week
to square one?
shake
you
it
feel?
at least.
Okay.
It's been shaken. Everybody admits
Look, I think
been
it's
shaken.
severely shaken.
Yeah.
Look, my own sense is it took one conflict or war, if you want to call it, Kargil, and the role that the Americans played in that to actually build a lot of confidence between India and the United States. Subsequently, what George W. Bush did on the
Yeah.
nuclear deal,
Sure.
that was the next stage. And it's taken one conflict for that entire progress which was made over a quarter century to go down the tube.
Okay.
Now, please tell me which Indian, while the government at the governmental level, they're playing it pretty calm and very composed. They're going through all the paces of exercises and stuff like that. We will continue to have dialogues, meetings, everything. But I don't see how any government in India now is going to have any trust on any American on strategic and security issues.
Sure. Yes.
What a lot of people are saying is
At least not
India
this
needs to
administration.
ride out these 3 years and then take a considered call. Because these 3 years are going to be rough. And not because the US permanent establishment has become anti-India and pro-Pakistan. It is because of President Trump and whatever thinking that he has. So ride out these 3 years and then go back to the drawing
But this
board.
is what everybody had thought that when, Pakistan had thought that we'll have to ride out the Trump years. But instead, it is India which has to ride out the
And-
Trump years.
and Trump 2.0.
2.0, yes. They were fearing Trump 2.0. So they thought we have to ride it out now and because India ka yaar aa gaya. And now instead of India ka yaar, your Munir ka yaar ban gaya ye to. So, okay, another thing which I want to ask is usually whatever America says and does with regard to Afghanistan and Pakistan, that's a signal to its allies in the West. UK would automatically do that. But Trump has vitiated that relationship too with Europe. Do you see the Quad nations taking their signal as always from the US with regard to Pakistan and Afghanistan?
Quad nations.
Australia, Japan. Japan has invited Shehbaz Sharif after 21
look.
years, a Pakistan Prime Minister.
No, see, some of that will continue to happen. Maybe if the Americans are, getting close to Pakistan, some of the American allies will continue to, also do the same thing. But I'm sure the Japanese realize the limitations. The Aussies realize, even if they don't, I don't think what kind of a relationship some of these countries make with Pakistan I don't think I have any locus standi in telling them don't get close to
Sushant,
Pakistan.
Japan invites Pakistani Prime Minister a week after a nuclear threat has been made by the. No, understand Japan.